Hello. In this video I'm going to look at some of the Google tricks that I have learned today. So the first one is a Google Translate tool. Now I'm sure most people are familiar with Google Translate. To get to it I just type Translate into Google, and then if you click on Open in Google Translate it'll open in the app. Now normally I'll type in what I want to, but I found out today that Google Translate also has a neat handwriting tool, which is already open because I've been using it today. To click on it, just click on the little pen icon here and it brings up a drawing pad, and this is really useful, especially if you want to write in a language that you don't know how to type in. For example, if you've never been to Korea, you'll know the Korean alphabet is a little bit different. So you can see the symbol, and instead of trying to figure out how to type it, you can just draw it. For example, I'm going to write something very quickly in Korean, like this, and it gives you all of the options. It's recognized that it's Korean down the bottom, but it's also looking at some other languages as well. This is the one that I wanted to write, so I click on that and it translates into hi for me. Google is also pretty cool because it lets you do things really quickly rather than searching for them. One of the things that I found out today as well was about the tip calculator. This is something that my Korean students are not aware of. They don't pay tips here in Korea, but it's probably something that they'd be interested in. They always ask me how many tips they should, or how much they should tip if they go abroad. I always say in the UK it's about 10% of your meal. Of course there are apps and websites that do this for you, but it's so much easier to do it this way. So let's say I paid £25 or dollars for my meal, and let's say there were two of us. It works out the total tip, and then the tip per person as well. Moving on to the next one. Now, this is one that I found on the internet, and it's the Google's timer. And it seems that the timer no longer works, or no longer works like it's advertised on the internet. Before, you were supposed to be able just to type something like set a timer for 5 minutes and it would come up with a timer, but it doesn't happen. And I was playing around with it today and I found that you can access the Google timer, but it's a little bit different to how it's advertised. So to do it, you type timer like this, and it brings up the time and it's already set to 5 minutes. If you want to change the time, just click in here and then you can type the time. Now if you want 10 minutes, for example, you have to type 10 and then 00 again to bring up 10 minutes. Once you're done, click on or click anywhere and it'll automatically start for you. It's great because you can make it to full screen, and I really like how it's big, but it's also ad free. A lot of the websites that have timers have a lot of ads on them, which can be distracting, and it gives this progress bar down the bottom as well. So you can still use the Google timer, but you have to type timer and enter your time manually. Another thing I like to use Google for a lot is the definition of words, and often if you type a fairly obscure word into Google, it'll automatically show you a definition, but sometimes if it's a very basic word, it won't show you the definition. But I found today that you can just type define and then followed by a term. For example, type define mouse, and it'll show you immediately the definition of mouse. And I think this is something that might be useful for students as well when we're teaching them to use Google. Now, Google image search is obviously really popular, and a lot of people like Google Images. You can search for images. Google Image Search also has a reverse search whereby you can upload an image, and often you need to click on the little camera icon here and it searches for the image if you don't know where the image is from. And I've known about this for a while, but I found out today an even easier way of searching Google for an image. Now I've got an image here on my desktop of me. So I want to search for this image. Now, instead of clicking the camera and navigating to it on my computer, I can just drag it up to here. It'll upload it, and there you go. It finds all of this. This is my profile image, so it finds a few examples of pages where my image is, which is a lot easier than having to find the image on your computer. So that's really handy. Another one that I recently found out today is if you want to know the time of any city, you can just type time followed by your city. I'm going to search for my hometown, or where I went to university, so it's now 20 to 6 in the evening in Aberystwyth. And searching for things up in the search bar, there's a few tricks. One of those is searching within a specific site, and I've known about this for a while. So to do this, you type site and then colon, and then, for example, the domain that you want to search in. So let's say I wanted to search the BBC, bbc.co.uk / and then let's say, well, I want to search the news website. Notice that there's no space between any of these when you type it in. You put a space then, and then you can put your search terms. So I want to search for this gentleman. I don't know how to pronounce his name, but he's a Mexican director. Iñárritu is how I would pronounce it. He's just been nominated for an Oscar, and he's one of my favourite directors. And you can see then that Google will search the BBC News website for all mentions of him, or all mentions of this word. As I say, I've known about this for a while, but what I found out today as well is you don't need to search just for the site. You can search for the top level domain, which is a .com or .uk. So let's say, for example, I wanted to search websites, only university websites. Now, the domain name suffix for university websites in the UK is ac.uk. So I can type site colon ac.uk, and let's say I'm searching for linguistics, and it'll search all mentions of linguistics on websites that end in ac.uk. So it's a really helpful way to search a type of site rather than a particular site, which is something I didn't realise until today. Now, Google people are known for having fun, I think, and they've built a few games into the Google search. One of the games that I found out today is the Atari Breakout game. To access this, you actually need to go to the image search section, and all you do is you type Atari Breakout into the search. Give it a second to load, and it automatically loads a game for you to play. I remember as a kid I really used to like this game. It's a little bit clunky, but if you've got a spare 5 minutes, or if you want to do something fun on Google, this is one thing you might like to do. They also have a couple of other games. One of the games that I found out, or the second game that I found out today, is called Zerg Rush. And you just type Zerg Rush into the search bar, and all of a sudden you see these Google O's that start appearing from the top. Then they also come from the side of the screen, and all you've got to do with your mouse, click on them a couple of times to make them disappear, and you've got to stop them from eating the whole page. Now, I really like using keyboard shortcuts when I can. I Control C and Control V for copy and paste, but I found out today that there are a few other keyboard shortcuts that you can use, especially when you are using the Chrome browser, which is Google's browser. One of the shortcuts that I found out today is the last closed tab, which sometimes you'll close a tab accidentally, or sometimes you'll close it and then you'll think, oh, I want to go back to it. You can, of course, open up the tabs fairly easily by going to the settings, but that's a few clicks. One keyboard shortcut to open up a tab that you've recently closed is just by pressing Control, Shift and T, and you'll see it'll open up, and fortunately I wasn't searching for anything risque there. Another of the keyboard shortcuts that I found today, and one that's really useful, is when you want to open up a link from Google, but you want to open it in another tab. Now, on Chrome, for example, the default is when you click on a link and it'll open up in the same tab, and most of the time that's what I want. But sometimes, if I go back to the search page, sometimes I want to open in another tab, and you can do that by right-clicking and selecting on open in a new tab. But a keyboard shortcut that I found today, and one that I think is really useful, is just by pressing the Control button on your keyboard and then clicking on the link, and it automatically opens in another tab, and it's a real time saver, especially if you want to open up quite a few tabs. And really the final two Google tricks that I found today are, I'm going to call them useless but fun. These are just things that you can type into Google to get it to do something. One of those is typing "do a barrel roll," which makes Google do a barrel roll, and the other one is typing in tilt, T-I-L-T, which just tilts the screen. I thought it might be fun to do this and just leave it on all of the computers at work. So those are the tips and Google tricks that I found out today.